8 actual passive income ideas. 6 of them I personally have, and 2 of them are so obvious that I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't talk about them. Let's get started. Number 1, dividend stocks. Most people buy stocks because they want the stock to grow in value so they can sell it later. But there exists a category of businesses that are already matured, and management has decided that returning profits back to shareholders is a more effective way of generating a return for shareholders than compounding growth of the business. And so dividend stocks are often companies that have really high fixed costs, but a mature market. So telecommunications, utilities are some of the best dividend stocks. The pros of these kinds of stocks is that every quarter you get a certain amount of money that gets deposited into your account without you doing anything. You only just have to own the stock. The con is that these types of stocks do not grow in value that quickly compared to a stock like Nvidia. Usually the stock price grows with inflation. Also, while these stocks are really good at giving you cash flow and maintaining value, they often don't outperform the market. And so if you look at stocks that are outperforming the market consistently, stocks like Amazon, Netflix, Tesla, these are companies that are still growing. And so because they're still growing, they're not paying that much dividends. Number 2, real estate. Now, I closed my first property for investment last year and hired a property manager to manage the apartment, find a tenant, and do all of those things for me. And one thing that I would be careful of if I were to start in real estate all over again is to actually go and calculate my capitalization rate on the property. And so it wasn't until I already signed and bought the apartment and paid for the down payment that I realized my money would have probably generated a higher return in the stock market. Why? Well, it's because I have to pay for property taxes, I have to pay for water, I have to pay insurance, I have to pay my property manager, then there are HOA fees. And so I rent the apartment out for $2,400 every single month. And so you would think that that's the amount going into my bank account, but it isn't. After all the fees that I have to pay, it ends up being about $1,000 every single month that actually hits my bank account. And so that's 60% gone. And the second mistake that I made was buying a brand new apartment. Thinking back, it would have been more efficient for me to buy an apartment with a lower price to rent ratio and not buy a new apartment because I'm not even the one living in it. But if you're able to get a good tenant and a good property manager, real estate income is quite passive. The third passive income idea I have for you is Amazon KDP, publishing books on Amazon that will get sales over time. Now, this was one of my failed businesses that I tried to start because in order to publish a longer nonfiction book, it takes $1,500 just to finish the book. And there's no promise that that book will ever make $1,500. And I didn't have that many $1,500 just lying around that I could spend until I made my money back eventually. But what I can say is I have not published a book in the last 2.5 years. And every month I'm still getting money from the books that I have already published. Did I break even? No, because I spent way too much money publishing those books. But if you are somebody that likes writing or likes drawing and creating your own coloring books, and it's a hobby for you, like YouTube is a hobby for me, then I would recommend Amazon KDP as a way to generate additional passive income. But it's not a business model I would touch unless I have enough money to risk, because in the beginning, there's no way the books you create are good. You need to put the reps in. And in that model, reps are pretty expensive to do. Number 4 is going to be a bunch of financial products, right? You have money market funds, treasury bills, annuities you can buy with insurance companies, as well as certificate of deposits you can leave at the bank and are principal protected. And so if you buy these products, then like dividend stocks, over time you will get a certain payout. Now these products are often principal protected, which means you will not ever lose the amount of money that you put in, but because of that, the return you get on these products are usually lower. And so before buying these products, you really have to think about what your risk tolerance is. If you have a higher risk tolerance, then maybe these products are not for you. But what I like to do is I like to have an emergency fund and then buy these products with my emergency fund. So I'm getting a higher interest rate than the one I have in my savings account, and I get to keep my principal. The fifth passive income idea that is truly passive is bonds. And I've put bonds in a separate category compared to dividend stocks, as well as annuities, because bonds also have a secondary market, but they aren't exactly stocks. And so bonds are just a piece of paper that you get when you lend money to someone. So anytime you buy a bond, you're taking over debt that whoever issued the bond now owes you. You're probably not buying the bond from the party that owes you money. You're probably buying a bond from someone else who owned the bond in a secondary market. But the idea is that once you buy the bond, then over the year you will get paid interest payments, and when the bond matures, you will get paid back the face value of the bond. Now bonds have ratings, and the higher the rating, the higher the quality of the bond, which means the lower the risk of default. And so because these bonds are so safe and high quality, they often pay a lower coupon rate or a rate of return. And in general, bond ratings go from AAA to BBB. And we even have bonds called junk bonds, which pay a much higher interest rate, but the risk of default is that much higher, and you never really want to lose your principal because that would make buying the bond pointless in the first place. And so you might be thinking, well, why do people buy bonds if I can put my money in an index fund and have it grow for the next 20 years at a higher rate? Well, the idea is that with bonds, you are pretty much always promised back your face value if you buy a high quality bond plus interest, but stocks are a lot more volatile in general. So bonds are much better for people who don't need the volatility. Instead, they need the income in the form of the interest to sustain their lifestyle. That's why most financial advisors actually recommend a higher bond percentage in your portfolio of investments as you get older. And also if you look at what we call target date funds, you'll notice that the closer you are to retirement, the higher the bond percentage in that portfolio, in that fund. The sixth truly passive income idea is buying equity in a business, but not being the operator of a business. So literally just funding a business. Like if you had a cousin that wanted to start a business and needed some startup capital, you could go up to him and be like, hey, I'll give you $100,000, or I'll give you $50,000, but I want 10% of the company or 5% of the company. Now, in general, it's not a good idea to do this, especially with a cousin that has never started a business, because they will probably fail and your money will probably be gone because the business you invested in isn't worth anything. And so you want to be really careful before you put your own hard-earned money into a business venture of a relative, because how good they are at selling you has nothing to do with how good they are at operating the actual business. So the seventh passive income idea, we're now in the realm of business, and this is going to be a paid newsletter. Now, I have to warn you, this is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to start a newsletter and get subscribers, let alone a paid newsletter. You're literally starting a business at that point. But why did I pick this one? Well, it's because while you can be the one writing the newsletter at the beginning, you don't have to. Once you have a certain amount of subscribers who are paying, you could literally hire writers to write the newsletter for you. And at that point, it becomes passive. And so when I say the word paid newsletter, a lot of people that hear this automatically default to nonfiction. They think like stocks, right? Like Seeking Alpha paid newsletter, or like the latest news in AI, or like the latest news in entrepreneurship or whatever. But that doesn't have to be your paid newsletter. Your paid newsletter could literally be serial fiction. And this business model works. You're just writing stories, and every week you send a section out, and people are incentivized to keep paying because they want to keep reading the story. And so you can do this on Substack, you can do this via email. There are a lot of ways to do this. The eighth and final way to generate truly passive income is going to be faceless YouTube channels. Now, I'm not gonna say YouTube channels in general are passive income, and that's a mistake that a lot of people make in their videos when they say, oh, a YouTube channel is passive income because you create the video once and then it generates ad revenue forever. Well, let me tell you the truth. The truth is, the moment you stop creating on YouTube, your ad revenue plummets to the ground. It doesn't go to zero, but it can drop by like 90%. You have to keep making videos because new videos that you make get seen by new viewers who then watch a part of your old videos. And new videos are usually the videos that get recommended more by the algorithm. And you can't replace yourself because you've built a personal brand by showing your face. But why faceless YouTube channels are a great source of passive income is because you don't have to be the one making videos. You can have an AI script the video, you can have an AI put the video together, you can have an AI voice the video. And so people have built massive passive income streams just doing faceless YouTube channels. Now, I've tried to build an online business for the last 8 years, and I've tried all sorts of business models, and I've had so many failures and lessons. So if you want to learn more about that so you can shortcut your way to success, watch this video right here.